Alright, we're going to take a look at the offset overhand bend, also referred to as the overhand 1.5. This knot is attributed to Mark Gomers in June of 2011. So this is just another version of the EDK, which we use quite a bit. So we're using ropes that we got to tie together to be able to make that bailout, make that rescue or descent, and we're going to line those up. So we can use this knot even on 2 different diameters of rope. So that's what we're doing here. We have an 8 mil and a 9.5. So when we're looking at this, if we are doing 2 different diameters, most of the testing says to have the smaller diameter on top, and you'll see why here in a second. So we're going to start off just by doing a regular EDK with this, just an overhand. Now here's our EDK, and since we started with the smaller diameter on top, it's obviously on the bottom now that we did the EDK. And what we're going to take is that smaller diameter and we're going to create an additional choking turn, which will enhance the stability of this knot as far as rolling goes. So that just basically comes back around, lays on top of that 9.5, making a little 9.5 sandwich there. And this comes right on through, and then we're just going to dress it up. And that is what it looks like. With this, you're going to see that the instability threshold gets increased to about 5 kilonewtons. Remember, it depends on diameter, depends on dynamic versus static rope. How static is it? They always suggest that you have about 200 millimeters of tail, which is roughly 8 inches. So here we have, an Irish 2 feet here. So we have sufficient tail for this. When they've done the loading on it on a 9 and 9.1 dynamic, they found that at right around 2 kilonewtons, the slip of the tail back in was right around 20 millimeters, so that's just about 0.78 of an inch. Pretty easy to untie once you load it. As far as the offset, we were referring on the last video as far as the offset tails, which is really beneficial for us, especially when we're using the type of ropes we normally do, which is a 7.5 usually. And what we're able to do is when we join these knots with a lower diameter rope like that, we're able to kind of bypass or cheat traditional knot passing if we're rappelling down and we come to a knot where we're able to work and manipulate these tails around tighter turns, whether it's in an 8 or it's in a spine wrap, and keeping them offset keeps the bulk down when we're trying to manipulate them around there, and it also keeps the incidence of basically blocking on top of each other, binding down when we keep these tails offset like they are. The term offset in this, thanks to Jack Knife Volkswagen, we're going to steal some of your verbiage here, is like most knots that we use to join. We prefer these because when it's offset like this and we have to pull that rope, there's less of a snag hazard than if we did a traditional double or triple fisherman's, because it goes flat over those edges and transitions really nice. So there's a lot less of a hazard as far as getting it caught when you're trying to pull your ropes, whether you're doing a releasable anchor or just a traditional pull with climbing ropes. And the term offset on this refers to the asymmetric loading across the axis of the actual nub of the knot itself, how it comes out to the side, because this is the way in which it's going to be loaded. So that is the offset portion of the loading. This is the offset portion of the tails.